Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. First, Autumn Windbags on my new yoga ball chair that my wife got me for my birthday. This is what happens when you're 39 years old and you have a pinched nerve in your back for the last month. Your wife gets you like a therapeutic spine massaging bouncy chair.
Did she get you the one with the dildo in it so you can make sure you stay in place?
No. She wants to be able to still get laid. She's like, well, if I get you that, you're never going to leave your room. You know what I mean? It's like that episode of Rick and Morty where Rick buys Morty the sex doll.
Oh, yeah.
And he just like upstairs for like a week, comes down, slams some orange juice in his bathrobe and goes back upstairs. You just hear,
throw up.
Exactly that. All right. Question of the day. I didn't write it. So super prepared. Talk while I write it.
Well, I see it up there. Question of the day. You didn't write it? Oh,
not as a.
Well, I want to say before we go any further that we appreciate you guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and that little corner over here, that notifications little guy. Make sure to hit that. So whenever RJ goes live, whenever I go live, whenever we drop a video, you know it right away, and you don't miss out on anything.
Problem solved. All right, now it's done. All right, question of the day. We will pin this question at the top of the comment section. Very curious what you guys think.
Right here.
Who is the best player on the Raiders? Pretty simple question, right? There's 90 players currently on the roster. There'll be 53 eventually, plus a little over a dozen on the practice squad. Who is the best player on the Raiders? We're asking because Pete Briscoe of CBS does his top 100 players in the NFL. And the Raiders have 4. Number 11, Davante Adams. Number 33, Maxx Crosby. Number 55, Darren Waller. Number 58, Chandler Jones. The only other 3 guys that could potentially make that list were Derek Carr, Colton Miller, and Hunter Renfrow, who are all kind of on the honorable mentions list. So outside the top 100. So 4 players in the top 58 and 7 players in the top, 130, 140 so.
Around there.
Pretty good roster, right? I don't think we've had a roster that people have thought is this good from the outside looking in since that 2016 team when we had, like multiple Pro Bowlers on the O-line. Carr was, third in MVP voting, and Cooper, Crabtree. Like, it's been a while since we've had a squad like this for people on the outside looking in and like, yeah, there's some really good players on there. So in the spirit of that, who is the best player on the Raiders of Las Vegas? Soto, you go first.
It's obviously Parker.
Your favorite?
Fucking Brandon Parker. It's gotta be. There's a tie between him and Leatherwood. They're right there.
He was so good that he was better than the list. You know what I mean? They didn't want to demean him by putting him on the same list as, Aaron Donald and
it's like, who are the best players in the NFL not named Brandon Parker?
Exactly. Otherwise, John Anik says it best, the announcer for the UFC. He says every single year it should be called the non-Justin Gaethje fight of the year. Otherwise, Justin Gaethje's going to win it every year. It's the non-Brandon Parker top 100, just to give someone else a shot at number 1.
Yeah, it's obviously Davante Adams. It's obviously
the easy answer.
It's not just the easy answer. It's the correct answer. There's no other answer. He is the best player on the team.
He's obviously, he's the highest guy on this, just outside the top 10. They made him number 11 in the top 100. He is the best guy in relation to his position on the team. There's really no other player. AJ Cole can make a case that he's the best punter in the NFL. You can make that argument, but he's a punter. Davante Adams is the only player on the team where you can make an argument he's the best player in the NFL at his position. He's the only, AJ Cole, but he's a punter. So there's that. I guess the knock on that would be there are so many good wide receivers in the NFL. Like, there is just a litany of insane studs at wide receiver. It is a golden age of wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
So having arguably the best wide receiver in football, like if you weigh it on a scale, right, like a position where it's hard to find stars, you can make a case for Maxx Crosby being the best on the team just because edge rushers are just so hard to find. Like, it's hard to find good edge rushers, and edge rushers I feel like are the most valuable players on your team outside of quarterback. Make the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is because there are so many receivers that are really good, to be known as one of the top 2 or 3 in the league, then you're that much more special.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for that reason, that's why I'm picking Davante Adams. Because there are a lot of really, really good wide receivers out there. And, to be known as one of the best of a very deep group, then yeah, you're one of the best.
He was the second ranked wide receiver on the list at number 11. Can you guess who the number 1 is?
Hell, I don't know.
I bet you can guess. He's at number 5. Who was the best wide receiver in football last year?
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Number 5. Who would you rather have, Cooper Kupp or Davante Adams?
Davante Adams, man. Look, Cooper Kupp had Cooper Kupp had an amazing season last year.
Yeah.
The issue that I have is it's one season. And it's not like he's a young player. He's been around a while. And that's one of the reasons why I try to slow people down on Hunter Renfrow. People are like, oh, well, the best receiver went down at Hunter Renfrow. Yeah. Well, it was 1 year. It was a special circumstance. It's not like, I mean, we were talking about how good Nelson Aguilar was last year. Well, guess what? Hunter Renfrow was on the team last year too, and he didn't ball out like this.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, he's been in situations before where number ones have gone down and he didn't step up. It was just a situation where he got more looks. Don't get me wrong. He's an excellent player. I'm very happy we have him, but I don't think he's, as high as some people were saying. And I think Cooper Kupp is kind of the same thing now. I think we're going to have him see a huge regression, because you're going to have, Allen Robinson on the team.
Yeah.
Right. And you're probably going to have OBJ on the team for the second half of the year. He's not going to get the same production. The main reason why is Vance Jefferson was not ready to step up in a bigger role. And when Robert Woods went down, it was kind of like the Cooper Kupp Renfrow thing, where the number one, the other person went down, or the other person was off the team, and a lot more of the targets went to Kupp. And he's very good player. I just don't see him being that much better than Davante Adams.
We were talking about quarterback rankings last week, and I feel like Briscoe did an opposite job, because we were talking about quarterback rankings. It feels like the rankings are always just kind of who's going to have the best passing offense next season, and then that's how they rank their quarterbacks. Like how Derek Carr, they ranked him so much higher. It's like, is he that much better than last season? No, he's got Davante Adams now,
he's got
right?
Better
and
weapons,
hopefully a healthy Darren Waller and maybe a Josh McDaniels that'll be, get the most out of him. I feel like Briscoe does a pretty good job of like, all right, if I just yank this player off of this team and put him on any one of the other 31 teams, he'll still flourish. I think that's kind of how he ranked it, which I think is accurate for his, for what he's doing there.
Yeah.
Is there any concern that Davante Adams hasn't played a snap yet for Las Vegas? He's not getting thrown to by Aaron Rodgers. He's got Josh McDaniels now in a new system. It's, it's Carr, not Mr. back-to-back MVP.
I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. Him and Carr have Carr has shown
a rapport.
Carr has shown almost to a detriment that if he's comfortable with you, he will feed you, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're Zay Jones, if you're Nelson Aguilar, if you're Jared Cook, if he's comfortable with you, he will get you the ball. Now, there's one. Number two, Davante Adams has shown the ability to get open against any type of coverage, in any type of scheme. He hasn't been in the same exact system his entire career. Okay. The thing with Davante Adams is he gets open so quickly. And that's what we said about Hunter Renfrow as well. They get open so quickly. That's why he's so good in the red zone. He gets open so quick. You're able to throw the ball right away. You know he's going to be wide open. You can guarantee exactly where he's going to be. So because of those two things, his ability to get open and because Carr's propensity to feed a player that he's comfortable with, I think Davante Adams is going to have a big
Davante may have the best season of his career, even though it's Carr, not Rodgers, throwing to him. Our boy Marcus from Tape Don't Lie was watching one of his videos, and he was breaking down the tape, and I was looking at it. And this is something you should do, is look at other quarterbacks, because you're always shitting on Derek Carr for being missing passes and being inconsistent, like almost every single quarterback is. And he was showing all these breaks that Davante was like, all right, he's open here, and he's off the ball here, and he got separation here. And Aaron Rodgers was just like playing it so safe. He was like throwing it away. It's like Davante's open, and he's still not even throwing it to him. Like this is number one target, the best wide receiver in football. He's open, and he's still going somewhere else, right? So Aaron Rodgers plays just so safe that even if he's got a half step on somebody, he's like, I don't want to risk it. Let me throw it away, right? Whereas Derek Carr, it's like,
if he's comfortable with you, he will give you the ball.
If I see the backs of your number, if you're a corner and I see your numbers, like the back of your numbers, he's throwing the ball. He's either going to get a PI, right?
He did that shit to Zay Jones. He threw that shit to Zay Jones. He was like, okay, well, Zay Jones is open. I'm going to fucking throw him the ball. Like, what? No, Davante Adams is going to have a big year. That's why I think Waller's going to have a little bit of a lower year. That's why I think Renfrow's going to have to take a little bit of a step back. Because I think it's just going to be the Davante Adams show, and he's going to cash in.
And that's the beauty of it is whoever the defense keys on, we'll go to option 2 or we'll go to option 3.
And the thing is, too, is like Davante Adams is so good getting open. Yeah, do whatever you want. He's still going to get open.
Yeah.
And if Carr wants to throw him the ball, he's going to fucking throw him the ball.
So that's the question of the day. Who's the best player on the Raiders? Pinned comment section. Let us know what you think.
Don't fucking say Brandon Parker. All right?
You started it.
Not named Brandon Parker. Not named Brandon Parker.
You started it. Fine. They'll say Alex Leatherwood. So Khalil Mack is getting through practice over there in Los Angeles on the Chargers.
A little scandalous.
And he was asked about the fact that the team that drafted him, his very first team, the Raiders, are the first team that you're playing week 1, right? You're on a new team, Raiders, week 1. You're the team that drafted you, the team that traded you, the team that John Gruden sent you away for 2 first-rounders. And he said, well, what do you think of it? Here was his answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another game, but also understanding that I heard that crowd cheered me on, and now we're going to hear the crowd boo us. You know what I'm saying? So it's a full circle moment. And I'm just looking forward to having fun, man, playing football again.
First off,
so
that
pussy.
Powder blue can make even a badass like Khalil Mack look like a pussy.
So pussy.
Oh, my God. Like, if you wearing powder blue is a great color if you're going to like a wine bar to talk to chicks and you want to like look safe. Like, oh, this guy, this is not going to get me drunk and take advantage of me.
A powder blue shirt and some like crisp white linen pants.
Exactly. Like nice white belt to match it off. Maybe an ascot,
Jesus.
That's what you go for when you're trying to like look innocent, right?
So
now you're trying to look tough on a football field.
UCLA colors are pussy, so we agree.
Yeah, but you get the gold that matches it though.
Pussy.
And it's a sharper blue than UCLA.
I agree with you.
And it's a sharper blue. Like this is a very powder baby blue.
No. I agree with you. It's pussy. We can move on.
So Khalil Mack said, here, let's play it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another game, but also
it's just another game. Right? He starts it off with just kind of like, all right, this is the player speak. Right? This is what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to say, oh no, it's just another game. My teammates are the best. I have so much respect for them, blah, blah, blah. But he gave like player speech for about 0.7 seconds.
Yeah, and he flipped it right away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another game, but also understanding that I heard that crowd cheered me on, and now we're going to hear the crowd boo us. You know what I'm saying? So it's a full circle moment, and I'm just looking forward to having fun, man, playing football again.
It sounds like there's a little bit of edge in his voice. It sounds like there's a little bit of like, hey, I remember football players have egos, rightfully so. Like you're Khalil freaking Mack. Like you have multiple games where you've had like a forced fumble, a sack, an interception,
a touchdown, like kicked a couple of field goals.
You're right. You returned a couple punts. Like you're Khalil fucking Mack. Like you've got, you've got an edge too. You've got a chip on your shoulder, right? I think that's a little bit there, but I think just his personality. He's not going to come out and just give a rant, right? I think it's there. You guys traded me. I think it all worked out, right? He got $90 million when he got traded to the Bears.
Rip of money.
The highest paid defensive player ever at the time. So I don't think he's like hurting or like regrets the decision. But he's like, oh, they didn't want me, huh? Okay. That's like going going to your 10-year high school reunion. You've married a smoking hot chick and you've got multiple businesses and you're rich. But if you see your old high school girlfriend, you still want to let her know what you lost, right? Like even if you broke up with her, you're like, you know what? Gotta let you know who's on top.
Yeah, we give her a quick piping in the back, just to let her, remember what she's missing.
Here's hoping Khalil doesn't pipe anybody on that field.
Goddamn,
really capable. He's lined up against Brandon Parker.
Is this a Chargers home game is it?
Yeah,
it's in LA.
Raider.
My God! You know what's crazy? He's talking about being booed at home. That just hit me right now. Yeah. That's what basically the first thing of substance out of his mouth was getting booed by his home crowd. Oh shit. He knows what's up. I mean, it was said a few years ago. This is basically a fucking
He's very aware he has 17 away games every single season now as a Charger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope he's aware of that. It sounds like he's aware of that. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be booed everywhere I go. Has it been long enough, do you think? Like how much of it, like how much did you think he thought about that? Like when he saw the schedule when it came out, did he say, all right, here's the schedule. Oh, week 1, Raiders. I'm going to play the Raiders, the team that drafted me, the team that traded me away. Do you think that crossed his mind? Or do you think it never really came up to him until the reporter brought it up?
I think it did because it's the first time he's facing the Raiders as a rival. Mm-hmm. It's a division rival now. He's back in the division. I think that's why it's going to be. It's a year. We're playing twice a year from now on, as long as he's in the division. So I think that did pop up into his head a little bit because it's fresh. It's a new team. It's his first game with the new team against one of his old teams. So yeah, I think it did pop up.
I don't think he gets booed. I think there'll be a smattering of boos, but I don't think there's this like underlying hatred of Khalil Mack and Raider.
Yeah, why would you boo him? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, he's wearing the lightning bolts.
I get that. Right? I get that. But he's not Joey Bosa. He's not like a guy talking shit just to talk shit and be an asshole. Like he's always been a stand-up dude. Him and Carr are still real close. So it's like, I mean, it's kind of hard to hate the guy. What did he do that was so wrong? Fucking play football really well? Like, I mean, wow.
He's wearing powder blue. That's enough reason for many people. Usually enough reason for me.
You don't cheer a guy, but you don't necessarily have to boo him.
I'm curious what that sound. I really, really am curious when they announced number 52 for the LA Chargers, Khalil Mack, and that Raider crowd. Is it booing? There will be some cheers. Some people will cheer him.
So I was at the first game. I mean, maybe it wasn't the first because I don't know that after the Dodgers traded Piazza to the Marlins, I don't know that the Marlins played at the Dodgers again that year. Okay. But I was the following year when he played for the Mets. I was at that game. And it was weird because they started booing him a little bit, and then the kind of boos just kind of went away. Because it's like, okay, well, what did he actually do that was so bad? Like, he got traded. You know?
He did hold out. Like, it's not quite the same as, like, he was ripped away and sent somewhere against his will. Like,
same thing Khalil Mack did. Khalil Mack held out.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I mean, but Piazza did the same thing. He wanted a new contract, and they weren't going to give him one, so they shipped him out. It's like, well, yeah, you weren't paying him like the player that he was.
Because I think the instant reaction is, as a Raider, you just immediately boo a Charger, right? You just immediately do it. You announce the name, boo, boo, boo. But then you're like, oh, yeah, wait. Because, you got like 4 or 5 beers in you. Like, you're all jacked up. It's going to be week 1 of a season where the expectations haven't been this high since 2017, right? 2017. Like, Raider Nation's jacked, right? You're going to be like, boo the Chargers. Because we're still remembering week 18 last season, right? This is essentially quarter number 6 of week 18 last season, that crazy overtime game to send us to the playoffs, send Chargers onto their sofas. Still part of that emotion. But then you hear the name Khalil Mack and you're like, oh, I remember him. He was awesome.
How do you boo that guy, man? He's awesome.
Also, I think the fan base will take a kind of like the lead from Derek Carr a little bit because he's still like boys with them, right? Like if he would have been like, you know what? I wish him well, but he's not a Raider, so I'm not going to talk to him anymore. I got my teammates. I'm not worrying about other people's teammates. Maybe be a little different. Without Derek Carr still like joking with him, and I'm glad that he is too, because like maybe that'll take a little bit of a heat off if Khalil's like just runs over Alex Leatherwood and gets a free shot at Derek. He's like, okay, I'm just going to take you down, as opposed to like try to donkey punch your ass and end your season.
Well, I mean, despite what fuckface wants to think, Carr is a pretty genuine dude. So if he's your boy, it doesn't matter what he's still Gruden's boy. Like he's still freaking. I text him every once in a while. I talk to him. Like he's still gonna chum up with him. So I mean, it's gonna be kind of hard to freaking boo the guy.
I can't believe the Chargers got him for a 3rd rounder.
It's fucking ridiculous, dude. I'm thinking to myself, why? I think on basic principle, the fucking Bears did not want to send him back to the Raiders. It's like, look, no. We got Mack in a 2nd for 2 firsts and a 3rd or whatever. We're not giving him back for that 3rd. We're not giving.
We can't possibly like give up 2 firsts, pay him close to $90 million, and then return him for a 3rd or a 2nd or whatever.
Crazy.
But there's got to be how many other teams in the NFL would take him for a 3rd? Like if you can handle the contract.
Yeah, if you can handle the salary, yeah.
I mean, unless you're like really in cap trouble, or you're in like a serious rebuild, right, where you don't want a 31-year-old.
Well, the thing is with the Chargers, it's like some of their big positions are on rookie contracts. Their two best offensive linemen, their quarterback, like those are three big money positions, and they're on rookie contracts. So yeah,
would you rather have Khalil Mack or Chandler Jones?
I'll probably have Khalil Mack. I want Khalil Mack.
I would say it's a no-brainer Khalil Mack until you realize he got traded for a third, and maybe they know something we don't. Like that injury he had last season, maybe it's more serious than people think.
The foot injuries, man, those linger, man. Those are tough injuries to come back from. That ended Yao Ming's career. Like
I mean, that's the only explanation, right? For just getting a third? That has to be.
I mean, look, Mack, without the explosiveness he has off the line, Mack is still super powerful, super smart, great technique. So despite all that, he doesn't have the explosiveness. Okay, fine. Maybe he's not as explosive as he used to be, but he's still a great player.
Are you seeing this fly run by my camera?
I saw that shit. I was like, what the fuck is that? So
he's circling the shit that is what's coming out of Khalil Mack's mouth. Yeah, I feel you. It's like that's the only thing that makes sense to me at all.
Even without the explosive, like that twitchy first step that he has, that little explosion off the line, he's still an excellent player with all the other intangibles that he brings. But with that, it just separates him from everyone else. But I mean, yeah, it does give some cause for concern that he was given away for such low compensation.
So from one ex-Raiders defensive lineman to another ex-Raiders defensive lineman, Gerald McCoy was on Colin Cowherd this week, and they talked about a bunch of stuff, but the Raiders came up, obviously, because that's where he was last season. And Cowherd's a big Derek Carr fan, so he was very interested in what McCoy thought of DC.
Were you surprised? Was Derek better than you thought from the outside until you joined?
No, I've always been a Derek Carr fan, and he'll tell you that. I told him that from afar. When I got there, I told him that. I've always thought he was underrated. I've always said, anybody who knows me knows I've always said Derek Carr is underrated. Ask my son, my friends, anybody knows I've always said he's underrated. I mean, you don't have that many fourth quarter comebacks or game-winning drives and not be special. And I just think he got a bad rap. I think he had a lot of bad situations around him, but he showed his resilience last year. And I'm excited to see what he can do this year with that type of team around him, with McDaniels, giving him a system that fits him. I'm excited to see what he can do.
He sounds like he's been listening to the Autumn Windbags. That's literally what we've said about Derek Carr for the last 12 months.
Yeah, as soon as we got the new coach, we got better weapons, more stable executives in the offices. We're like, okay, let's go. It's time now. Now it's time. We have all the pieces in place here. We're going to continue to get better at certain situations, certain areas, but for right now, let's go full speed ahead.
Has any former ex-teammate, coach, anyone, have you heard anybody say anything bad about Derek Carr, who's either played with him or coached him?
No.
Not even like lukewarm. It's always just been like he's the best, great teammate, underrated.
I mean, personally, the guy's a good dude, man. He's a good dude. He does a lot for the community. He's a family guy. He has his beliefs, but he's not going to push it upon you. He's gonna, be genuine when he talks to you about how he wants well. He wishes well for you, and there's nothing bad to say about the guy, man. I mean, as far if you're his teammate,
drags a dumpster fire of a team through hell and into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, his leadership definitely was a huge quality that kept that team together.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because again, Cowherd, he talks a lot about how the Raiders, like, it was a mess last season, so into the playoffs and what an accomplishment it was. And he had McCoy kind of extrapolate the situation.
I just want to give a shout out to Rich Bisaccia, what he was able to do. He's one of the greatest coaches I've ever been around in the history of the NFL. And he's been kind of funneled to a special teams coach, but he's one of the best coaches I've ever seen that can get men to band together for one cause.
That Indianapolis win on the road,
I'm telling you.
that was the biggest Raider win in a decade.
I'm telling you, man, what he was able to do with all those guys in that locker room and just the men in the locker room, that's why I'm always going to root for the Raiders, because one of what Rich did and what those guys in that locker room represented and how they band together. No, they didn't win in the playoffs, but they got there. And if you look in the history of NFL, if something like that happens to most teams, they fold and they break down. But those guys, how they would play, and it's not like they were a group of vets. Those guys, Maxx Crosby going to year 4. You know what I'm saying?
Renfrow's a kid. Jacobs.
Everybody's young. But also, when people question Derek Carr, go back and look at what he was able to do last year as a leader. If your quarterback is in place and he's rocking, your team can go. And they did.
So even more so than Derek Carr, every single player that's been coached by Rich Bisaccia, they just fawn over the man.
Yeah, I love him.
Ridiculously, right? And it's not like, these aren't special teamers, right? We have Maxx Crosby fawn over him. He's Pro Bowl end. Like, he's not working with Bisaccia. He's not doing special teams. McCoy, he's not doing special teams, but still, he's just a guy that people just freaking adore. And then obviously we knew that he was going to be gone, right? Once they decided not to hire him as head coach and they moved on, it's like, new regime brings in a whole new set of coaches because you're giving favors to your boys, right? Like, they're not going to keep Bisaccia. I'm wondering if that amazing and tangible locker room unity that got us through the dumpster fire of last season into the playoffs, I'm wondering how much of that was tied to Rich Bisaccia. Because every single player who's asked about Bisaccia says basically the same thing. We all loved him. He is a leader of men. Yeah, he does special teams and he deals with punts and kick returns and stuff. But really his job is to be a leader of men.
You know what? I think he was a great accompaniment to the leadership that we had on the team. He was a good galvanizing force as far as, okay, the team is good. The team is sound. The team has good leadership. Let's get somebody who's on a similar page to be like the coaching leader.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to miss a lot, honestly. And not that there's not a lot to miss with Rich Bisaccia, but I think the groundwork was already there internally on the player side in that locker room to have good leadership.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping because we talk about this all the time. The quarterback is the heartbeat of the team by default because of the position that he's in, right? Like, Derek Carr is that great leader, but a lot of quarterbacks aren't always the biggest leader out of the 53 people on the team. But because of the quarterback, they have that role, right? There's a difference between a leader and an authority. I'm wondering if Bisaccia was the catalyst for that and Derek Carr got the credit. Like, again, we both agree Derek Carr's a great leader, but this amazing drive through the trash season that was last season, was it Bisaccia as the driving force and Derek Carr kind of just hopped on that saddle and ran with it and got the credit for it? Or was it Derek Carr and Bisaccia was a supplementary, point of that? Because it's just the way both those guys get so much love from their former players, former teammates. I don't know. I'm just hoping that losing Bisaccia doesn't lose that kind of that heart and soul of the Raiders that was born last season.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the leadership of Carr didn't really shine through because the team was so bad. And he had some toxic environments. There was, say what you want to say about Jack Del Rio.
The seasons prior, right?
Yeah, the seasons prior. Look at Jack Del Rio now. Kind of got in trouble a little bit, got fined for,
what did he call it? Not a skirmish.
A dust up. Oh, fuck. People lost their goddamn lives. People trying to overthrow the government.
Dust ups.
The fucking dust up. Okay, so there's that. You can't tell me that he pulled that shit out of his ass, and that's the first time people have seen that. Then you go to John Gruden, who is a player's coach, but doesn't always run the tightest ship because he's ignores half of his team basically. So now you're seeing somebody after those two guys who was on the same page leadership wise as Derek Carr, who was able to kind of highlight the leadership that was already on the team.
I can't wait to hear what Packers players say about Bisaccia. Obviously special teams coaches don't do a ton of media. And Bisaccia isn't a driven by media guy. You
He's
can
not
tell
a
like
media
how
whore, no.
you can tell how weird it was for him to like run meetings. Like he wanted to do a good job, but he didn't want to. It wasn't like his thing. Very curious, very, very curious what those Packers players think of Bisaccia. So, a lot of extensions got handed out. Was it $250 million we've handed out to 5 players this offseason? Right? With Davante Adams, Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow, Chandler Jones. We've passed out some money. And one glaring guy who hasn't been given money, he's 6'6", so he casts a large shadow.
Sure does.
Darren Waller has not received
dreamy eyeballs.
Oh, dream! Oh, don't let him near your girl. We were talking earlier about like which players you don't let near your girl. Like Denzel Perryman, I think he's up there.
He's funny, yeah.
He's funny and like charming dude, can talk. Darren Waller, if he wasn't such a good guy, like I would feel comfortable having Darren Waller around my wife because he's such a good guy. He wouldn't make a move on her.
He would.
No, he's too good of a guy.
No, he's
too good of a guy. Don't shatter my dream about him. I want to be able to like leave him alone, leave my life.
The wife is that supreme of a catch.
My point being, a little bit more of a heart, right? Anyway, 2 years left on his deal. He will be the 17th highest paid tight end next season. As of right this second. No guaranteed money left. 2 years left on his deal.
Can you zoom in on that? Jesus.
No, we can't.
Okay, well, there it is.
Put your glasses on. So let's say Darren Waller does get an extension. What does it look like? Because we're hoping it comes eventually, right? We don't want to lose him. What does it look like when he gets one? Should he get it?
I think his deal, looking at the contracts that have been given out to players who are really good players on the team, the Davante Adams, the Carrs, the Chandler Jones, it's going to be a 3 to 4 year deal. It's going to be around the same money per year that George Kittle is getting, which is $15 per year. The reason I say that is 2 other guys in that top 5 have been paid after Kittle, and they didn't get paid more than Kittle. Now, if you take a look at that list between the top 5 and between Waller, nobody on that list is going to move that needle any. Nobody on that list is going to move the needle any.
Yeah.
The only guy that can move the needle after is going to be Kyle Pitts, and he's not eligible for another 2 years to get extended. So, I don't think there's a huge rush because I don't think anyone else on this list is going to reset the market past where Kittle already has it set.
I almost feel like Njoku reset the market with how much he got and for how little production he delivers. Like his very best season of receiving yardage is worse than Darren Waller's worst season receiving yardage. And now he's a top 5 paid tight end. $30 million guaranteed, $56 million deal, $14 million a year. Like that's.
Yeah, I think it's going to be right around where I'm telling you, it's going to be right around where Kittle's going to get paid. Because if they're like, oh yeah, well we look at Njoku got this much and he's not nearly as good. Well, look at what Kittle's making. Yeah, I mean, and no one's gotten close to it since. So I think it's going to be around maybe a little bit more than Kittle because it's a newer contract. And it's like kind of a battle at the top to see who's the best tight end in the league. But no other player is going to reset that $15 million a year.
There's a couple things going against Darren Waller when it comes to him getting that money. Well, first off, I think we wait a year before we pay him. He's got 2 years left in his deal.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, no one's going to reset that.
He's making several mil, right? He's not making what he deserves, but he's making several mil. I think we wait till either like late in the season or next off season, something like that, before we move on him. Yeah. Also, he's no longer like he was. I think clearly the best player on the team last season on paper. Like before he got hurt, like obviously his production wasn't the best. But if you say, hey RJ, at the beginning of last season, who's the best player on the Raiders? I'm like, well, now that Rodney Hudson's been traded, I think it's Darren Waller. He's the. If we did the Pete Briscoe's top 100, I think he'd be the highest ranked Raider.
Well, then after Rodney Hudson got traded, he got even better.
Sort of. He got on the. He got on the IR.
He was rated
and now he's
better.
holding out. He wasn't at camp. He had an unexcused absence for the Cardinals. So he's playing well, but he's a little bit of a handful now. IR holding out. Anyway, that's the story for
he wanted to he pushed himself out of freaking Las Vegas too.
He muscled his way out. Yeah. But now he's no longer gonna be like the best player on the team, right? Now he's gonna share he's gonna share those targets with Davante and a new Pro Bowler Hunter Renfrow, and Josh McDaniels likes throwing to running backs more, right? Yep. So it's he may not have the same production as he did.
Josh McDaniels does love his tight ends, man.
He does love his tight ends, but he also loves his running backs. He also loves his slot receivers, and who's not going to love Davante?
Gronk, he made Gronk a star, man. He made Gronk a star. So I can definitely see him, twiddling his fingers, wanting to get his hands on Waller, and it's not because of his dreamy eyes.
And also, we've seen a lot of players take team-friendly deals, right? Like the guys that truly got paid are the free agents, right? Chandler Jones and Davante Adams. Those were the big money moves, right? Big money moves for those two guys. Derek Carr, insanely team-friendly.
Yeah.
Maxx Crosby, not a crazy contract.
I think the thing is, what we're looking at here is contracts that aren't resetting the market, and we're thinking, oh yeah, that's a team-friendly deal. Maxx Crosby got fucking paid, bro. He got fucking paid.
He got paid, but he's like barely top 5 when he's,
Dude, has he ever been top 5 production in sacks or anything like that? Like, he had a lot of pressures last year. That's great, but that's the first time he's done it.
And there's not a lot of guaranteed money on his deal. Like a third of his contract's guaranteed money.
That's what I'm saying. That's
what I'm saying is Mac, like the homegrown boys haven't gotten crazy deals. Like Hunter Renfrow's deal is pretty, I'd say, below market for a Pro Bowler like him.
For him, it's about right.
I think Maxx Crosby, obviously Derek's team friendly. So I'm wondering if like Darren Waller, they're like, hey, like, yeah, Carr did it. Hunter sort of did it. Max sort of did it. It's your turn, bro. Hey, the Raiders pulled you out of obscurity. You were dying on the vine in the Ravens practice squad. So we found you and made you. And we paid you the first few games of the first true season of you playing. Mm-hmm. I think there might be some of that as well. And the other part is, if you go back to this list,
I don't know if that's going to be a part of it, because nobody that's going to be in the room talking to him was there when that happened.
Yeah, but I would still try to use that as leverage. But look at this. The other thing that hurts him too is his age. Other than Kelsey, he's the oldest guy on this list, basically. Like Taysom Hill's a quarterback, 32. Zach Ertz that's an old contract. He's retiring, right? He's slowed down production a lot. Everyone else is under 30. Darren Waller will be 31 next season. So I think it's smart for the Raiders to wait. One, because you're getting him for pennies and he's showing up and playing. 2, he's 1 year older.
He'll get a 3-year deal. That's about it. He'll get a very similar deal to like either like a 2-year extension after next year, where they give him a lot of the guaranteed money up front.
I think it's the Mark Andrews. I think it's the Mark Andrews contract. 56 mil, 14 mil a year.
That's 4 years, man. I don't think it's going to work. That's too many. He's 30 years old already.
I think he'll be 4.
He'll be 31. It'll be 3 years.
Or do they do 2 and keep him on par with everybody else, right? So they give him, if they wait till next season, give him a 2-year deal.
2-year 30.
That's as long as Hunter. That's basically as long as Carr, as long as Chandler.
Look, the way I'm looking at it is like this. Yeah, you're a great player, but you haven't won shit. Mm-hmm. Let's pay you like the player that you are, but realize you still haven't won shit. Yeah. Okay? So let's get our winning ways together, and now we can then talk about resetting again. Because the thing is, it's like a lot of the fans out there are trying to be like, well, if he's a great player, you gotta pay him. And that's when teams fuck themselves long term, because just because he's a great player on my team doesn't mean he's going to be he's a great player for the league.
Well, that's when fans fall in love with players. We need to fall in like with players.
Exactly.
Right? Like you gotta think like a good GM and not like a coach.
That's why I think the Hunter Renfrow contract was perfect. Mm-hmm. It was perfect. Like, you know what, Hunter? You balled out last year, but it was 1 year. You had similar circumstances in previous years and you didn't ball out. So let's just wait and see. We're going to pay you. We're going to pay you more. We're going to pay you upfront money now, guaranteed money upfront now. So you're still going to get paid. You're still going to get a raise. You're still going to get a lot of money. But let's wait and see how the team does and see what we do from there.
And if we have a great season, right? Let's say the Raiders go nuts, right? Deep in the playoffs, all this optimism,
high
works.
scoring offense.
This offense is meshing. This defense is gasp, average, maybe, right? Dare I hope and pray?
Before Graham got to the Giants, their secondary was god awful. Mm-hmm. He got there, and with a couple of pieces on the line, one linebacker basically, and a bunch of guys that were like kind of no names, he made Pro Bowlers out of there. He can do wonders in the secondary, but he does ask a lot of his secondary.
We got a young secondary.
We sure as fuck do.
Ready to do some What Up Windbags?
Yes, sir.
All right, first one, Lesario Branch. I was talking about how
that's a legit first name,
right? Pretty Raidery last name too. Gruden was running with that shot line, and Josh Jacobs went crazy to get us into the playoffs. If they're slightly better, we play action, could see some good running, especially by committee. I was talking in my live chat about how we need to be we're gonna have to throw the ball a lot. Our line on paper is bad. Josh Jacobs gets hurt every season, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, he's blaming Gruden being a part of it. And Josh went crazy and running back by committee. Do you think we'll have a good running? Basically, he's saying we're going to have a good run game next season. I don't know if I'm that optimistic.
I think we will for this reason.
Yeah.
Josh McDaniels is not as predictable down wise, formation wise. He's not nearly as predictable as John Gruden was. That's one of the big reasons why the running game wasn't as successful as it was later in the year, because they went off script a little bit on down and distance and off of formation. So I
think the O-line started to mesh a little bit. They were all brand new. They played together. They kind of started to figure each other out.
You saw a lot of 4 wide sets, and they were running out of the 4 wide sets. Mm-hmm. And they were breaking a lot of tendencies that John Gruden doesn't break those tendencies. Yeah. So the thing with play action is you got to run the ball, or else no one's going to give a shit about your play action. So that's one thing that I hear, oh yeah, we got to play action. I'm like, whoa. It's a play action. So you got to do the first part of the play well first to make the action make sense. So if you don't run the ball well, play action is not going to work for you.
I think we're going to be an opportunistic running offense, kind of how we were last season. When we play the Chargers, right? We're playing a trash run defense. We'll run the ball, right? We're playing the Steelers. We probably won't, right? So I think that'll be our role. I think the run game will be in our back pocket when it's usable. And that's very Josh McDaniels, right? John Gruden's we're going to force the run. First down, run. Right between the tackles every time.
Second down,
predictable.
Run.
Do it every time. Where Josh McDaniels be okay, we got there's only 5 guys in the box because they're trying to double coverage Davante and Darren Waller and Shadow Hunter Renfrow. It's all right. That's when we're going to start running it.
One thing that we're going to see a lot is we're going to see Davante Adams kind of in a short set, not really a slot, but in a short set. And then we're going to see Darren Waller motion out wide. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to see an empty fucking box. You're going to see okay, everything's going to shift over to that side, and you're going to have an empty side on the other side. And we're going to have we're going to get a lot more running opportunities than you might think.
And Derek Carr's big old brain is going to check to that fantastic spot. That's
Derek
Carr's best friend.
You and I can make that read because you're basically only reading that linebacker. Mm-hmm. If that linebacker flips over and the safety stays where he's supposed to stay, it's going to be wide open on that side. So that's really the only thing he has to read, depending on the defense. But normally it's going to be that.
King Joshua, this is a response to that Hunter Renfrow short that I did a while ago about how when he started doing things his way is when he flourished under John Gruden. King Joshua, that's why Brian Edwards couldn't blossom. Maybe it was the coaches holding him back. Do you think Brian Edwards was held back by the Raiders?
I don't think I don't necessarily think that he was held back, but I don't think the coaching staff did him any favors.
Okay.
I don't think that they used him in the way that would allow him to be that receiver that they wanted him to be. They were asking him to be to get the separation guy, the deep stops and the comeback routes. Well, if you're not worried about a guy's speed and you're not worried about a guy's, ability to 50-50 ball and get the balls over the top, you're not going to be worried about him running past you. So the comeback routes and the stop routes aren't really going to work that well. And so he got issues getting separation out of his breaks. If you were to feed him a little bit more, then you have that deep threat to worry about, and you give him a little bit more separation to be able to work. So you're asking him to do something that he's not great at initially, and you're not allowing him to use his tools to set up the defenders. So
I can acknowledge that Gruden's offense doesn't bend to the player; they demand the player bend to the offense. Right? I mean, not a controversial take, right?
Brian Edwards is not a choice route guy. He's not a choice route guy.
And so when Hunter Renfrow, being the smart guy that he is and the experienced guy that he is, and like son of a coach and played quarterback in high school, like real good football mind, he's like, all right, I'm going to do things my way. And he flourished, right? I don't know if Brian Edwards is wired the same way. And so I think it's safe to say that that Josh McDaniels or maybe another offensive coordinator could formulate their offense to get the best out of Brian Edwards. But if you draft him in the third round?
Third round,
right?
third round.
If you draft him in the third round, you should be drafting him to be him. You shouldn't be drafting. All right, I'm gonna draft you. Now be something completely different to fit my offense.
Man, I don't even want to get into it and how fucking Gruden and Mayock just drafted guys that they pulled out of the fucking lint in their fucking dick hole, dude. They just pulled guys out of the fucking air. I go, this is a guy's a good player. He can do this. They're like, well, no, wait a second. Where the fuck showed you that he can do what you're asking him to do? He does something well. How about you design something that can help him flourish, can help him expand on what he does well, and help him use that to set up other parts of his game? And that's not what Gruden was about.
I just can't give the benefit of the doubt to a player where the quarterback chose Zay Jones over you. You just don't get the benefit of the doubt from me. When Derek Carr's like, you know what? I can either go to Brian Edwards or Zay Jones. I'm going to Zay Jones. Like that. That's rough. Like that's the scarlet letter to me.
I understand what you're saying, but also you have to understand from the other point of view too. If you're not allowing a player to use his best tools, he's going to be easier to defend if you're constantly asking him to do things that he's not the best at.
If you can't run a great route, though, you've really limited what you're able to do. Like it's like you're really like that's a very small window for a wide receiver at that point.
I mean,
look, the effort was there. He was such a good downfield blocker. Like
Ocho Cinco wasn't a great route runner either, but they ran an offense that allowed him to. Yes, but he wasn't nearly as big as Brian Edwards. Not nearly the catch radius as Brian Edwards, but he still gets open because they allowed him to be the player that he was. Now, because of that, it caused the defense to play him a little bit different, which then allowed him to run more of the route tree. And that's what I'm trying to say.
We'll see what happens with him in Atlanta because they want, like, he was brought in to be Brian Edwards. They want big, tall, strong wide receivers.
Drake London, Pitts, Edwards, big hands, big catch radius, big jumpers.
Who A, block downfield because they're committing to the run game, and B, like you said, big, strong, athletic wide receivers is what they're looking for. So if he can't flourish in Atlanta, then it wasn't the coaching. He's just another third rounder that couldn't hack it in the NFL.
Dude, if I was Marcus Mariota, I'd be like, look, man, get this guy Brian Edwards. They ain't doing a fucking thing with him over in fucking Las Vegas.
SoCal Slime. Sounds like a Charger fan. You guys can't be serious about Staley after one, in all caps, year, especially when he inherited Gus Bradley's guys up front. Top 5-0 and bottom 5D, you're supposed to be aggressive. But like Raider Nation was preaching last offseason, if we get a top 18 defense, definitely in the playoffs. I think this is a Charger fan.
Yeah.
It's a top 18 defense. So you guys can be serious about Staley after 1 year. Yeah, we can. You have an entire season to judge a head coach.
His defense got worse. His best three defensive players play the entire season. Your defense got way worse, and you're a defensive specialist. You made terrible decisions offensively, and
he inherited Gus Bradley's guys up front. You mean the guys up front that played well this season before? Those guys up front?
Those guys, yeah.
And Gus Bradley's pretty good about finding guys up front.
Owosu, Bosa, fucking what's the other linebacker's fucking face? I forgot his name. Derwin James. Like, he had some players, man. He had some players in that defense, and they didn't play great.
You could argue the Chargers are the most talented team in the AFC West as far as pure
talent. Yeah,
player
really
by player team. By player talent.
It's gonna be the coaching.
The Chargers are up there. So why the hell were we playing in Cincinnati and Bosa was on the sofa coaching?
Yeah, we were playing in Cincinnati and they were playing with their ball sack.
And I blame coaching.
Yeah,
it's
look, legit coaching.
You have that talented of a team and you don't go to the playoffs. You got Justin Herbert. You have all that cap space because you have a Pro Bowl quarterback on a rookie contract. You have the Mona Lisa. You have the golden egg. Pro Bowl quarterback, rookie contract. That's what every coach, GM, and fan dreams of. Because then you can you can afford all these other great players, which the Chargers have, and they're loading up, and they've got Khalil Mack for pennies
for another year at least.
For another year, right? Until Herbert Burrows reset the entire quarterback market, right?
The next offseason when you have to pay fucking $500 million.
So yeah, we can talk about Staley after one season when you have everything every coach ever wants, and your defense gets worse. You're the defensive genius, and you don't go to the playoffs. Who should get the blame then for the Chargers not going to the playoffs if not for Staley?
No one else I can see.
It's Staley.
Sure hell wasn't Herbert's fault with fucking converting like 19 fourth downs against us. My motherfucker balled out. All
right, so that's it for what I've Windbags. That's it for the show. I'm off to Austin, Texas Thursday evening for
the Jewel by
UFC.
the Sea. Wait, what?
Is it a jewel? It's not even by the sea, right? It's a landlocked city. I've never been. I've been to all the big cities in Texas, but I haven't been to Austin. I heard it's a great time.
You'll have fun in Austin. Austin's a very LA-ish. It's the most LA-ish city in Texas.
I heard it's like all the good things about Texas without all the bad things about Texas. Like it's just a bunch of fun-loving cowboys in a music city, in a party city.
I'll put it this way. The whole city of Austin is like cowboy country. The club. It's like
on
that.
South Street in Lakewood, if anyone's listening.
Yeah.
Cowboy country in Lakewood on South Street.
That's
where I had my 30th birthday.
That's what the whole city looks like.
Well, if you get a call at 3 a.m, that's me trying to call you to bail me out of jail because I'm having so much fun. So leave your phone on.
Yeah. You know what? I have a picture, I think, of that night. Or was that Dallas when you were sleeping, passed out on my shoulder in the taxi cab.
I have no clue where that is. I do remember the picture though. That could be anywhere.
It could have been anywhere.
Could have been anywhere. Yeah. All right. Well, until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Maxx Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.